Welcome back. Voters in Pacific Grove have this choice this November whether or not to give city leaders the go-ahead to consider bringing in one cannabis business. Already, their neighbor, the city of Monterey, is moving towards exploring cannabis retailers in their tourist districts. Both cities now looking to see if they're missing out on a source of revenue. Cannabis retailers like Big Sur Cannabotanicals say they know exactly who is purchasing their products. General Manager L'Oreal Wright tells us they're able to track how much a customer is buying to what city the person lives in. Records show how many people are driving here from cities on the peninsula like Pacific Grove, where there is no dispensary yet.
Over the past 5 years, it's almost 2,000 people. So that's quite a few members. Measure M is proposing to change Pacific Grove's municipal code, allowing for one pot shop to operate in the city. Wright says on average, each customer spends roughly about $90 per visit. That's $180,000 at a minimum that Pacific Grove missed out on just from this one store. It's revenue which Pacific Grove Council member Chaps Paduri says Pacific Grove is missing out on.
We're trying to gauge the support of a cannabis dispensary within town. So we're putting it out to the residents, making sure that the residents are in favor of putting this measure and this dispensary in town or not.
Measure M is an advisory non-binding measure. It would also prohibit the sale of cannabis for at least 1,000 feet from any schools, daycares, and youth centers. Still, people like Kevin Hanley, who just moved to Pacific Grove for its charm about a year ago, are fighting to preserve this butterfly town the way it is, free of any pot shop.
And I'm just worried that if we put a monopoly pot shop in town, it's going to hurt the businesses. And 62% of cities and counties in California do not allow pot shops in their town. And they do it for a reason, because if you visit towns with the pot shops, you find a lot of blight around them. No one wants to be, no other businesses want to be next to kind of a high security pot shop.
California voters legalized marijuana in 2016, and while a large portion of cities still do not allow it to be sold in their communities, the market, according to Wright, is oversaturated.
So if someone does have the ability to travel, 15 minutes or so, there's quite a few dispensary locations they can choose from. And that does help when it comes to the monopoly issue, where certain dispensaries might charge a lot more than others just based on their location.
She argues people like Hanley, though, have a misconception about the people who consume cannabis products.
30% of the products we sell don't have any psychoactive properties whatsoever. So there's a majority of people who just use it for medicinal purposes.
Whether it's for a high or to cure an ache, any cannabis business will have to set up near the edge of Pacific Grove if approved, near the Monterey border by the Visitor Center or the industrial area by Asilomar, away from the heart of this little town.
If you feel strongly about this one way or the other, to go out and vote, because the city is going to take action on this.
But also on the ballot for Pacific Grove is Measure N, a cannabis business tax, where if approved, will adopt an ordinance for an excise tax of 6% on gross receipts of cannabis sales.